Marketers of the world, why do we work hard to solve small problems? It's time to bring home bigger paychecks. It's time to create the lifestyle we deserve and to make a greater impact. This is the Fractional CMO Show, and I'm Casey Stanton. Join me as we explore this growing industry and learn to solve bigger problems. The Fractional CMO Show is sponsored by CMOX, the #1 company to teach you how to attract, convert, and serve clients as an in-demand fractional CMO.
I'm here with today's guest, president, owner, and founder of NeoLinks, executive director of Noah's Children, a nonprofit focused on helping orphans and those displaced by war and poverty, primarily in Armenia and the surrounding regions, the CEO and broker in charge of Ravens Rock Real Estate Services, Inc. Our guest today, Armen Mardirousi, the fractional CMO for medical clinics and healthcare service companies. Armen, welcome to the Fractional CMO Show.
Thanks for having me, Casey.
Yeah, super excited that you're here. And you're inside of our CMOX accelerator. And I just love getting on video with you and seeing kind of what's behind you. You've got goddesses, you've got books behind you. And when you shared with me that you teach yoga on Tuesday mornings, I was really excited to have you on the podcast to discuss your approach to resilience and staying calm under pressure while achieving big outcomes. And I'd love for you to kind of like take it away and share how resilience kind of shows up in the work of a fractional CMO or the work of a business owner.
Sure. Well, kind of take a step back. I mean, resilience works great just in your own personal life, dealing with yourself, your own thoughts, but also whenever you're dealing with other human beings. You have to put up with different mentalities, different perspectives, different wants and needs, different goals. And that definitely holds true when you're dealing with other business owners that might have an idea as to what they want to do. And they might hire you, but they want to keep doing what they've been doing, even though it doesn't work because they've heard from somebody or it once worked 6 years ago for them. But just being resilient, holding true to what you feel is best for the outcome for your client and the people you work with, and kind of just not letting the daily difficulties that are thrown at you, either intentionally or unintentionally by other people going after what they think is best for them and their business. That kind of really being resilient and holding true to what you believe and know to be the best, solution. So that kind of where it ties in, to dealing with business owners, especially.
Yeah. And I think as a business owner, I heard that before and I didn't get it. I mean, honestly, last night it really like hit me. I was reading a thread on Twitter and someone was talking about like, what advice would you give to someone else in your position who was thinking of leaving a corporate job or whatever and starting a new business? And everyone said something along the lines of, the first year is grit. The first year is pushing uphill and you're going to have people in your life. You might be surrounded by people who support you and love you and want to see what's best for you. And they are encouraging you to take these risks. And then you also have people that could support and love you and not want you to take those risks because they don't think that it's a good risk. And it's like this kind of steadfast commitment to just keep going. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first year of just about anything is difficult. Just look at the lockdown we went through. When it first started, we thought it'd be a few weeks. We get back on, the regular things, and then, oh my God, Zoom, how can we do Zoom? But a year into it, we were like, oh my God, this is great. You could meet with people all over the world anytime on your own terms. Just get dressed up from the waist up and nobody has to know. And then everything got easier. So I think, I definitely holds true that, whenever you're starting anything new, the first year is a grind. I think it goes above and beyond business as well.
Yeah, that's great. So I think, I heard this quote before around like, most folks get on the bus and then they hop off at every stop and get on a new bus and they wonder why, after a year, they haven't reached the destination. And what seems to be very true is to pick a destination and ride that bus as long as it takes to get there. And you might have to go a wacky route, a route that you didn't, plan because of detours or tech issues or sales issues or whatever. So how does someone stay resilient in the face of just like mounting difficulty and challenge on a day-to-day basis? Like sales, they're excited about a sales call. They go to bed at night thinking, man, if I close that sale, that's going to do it. They wake up the next day and the person doesn't show for the call. or the person shows for the call and actually they just hired someone locally and, nothing against you, but sorry, we moved with this other guy. How do you stay resilient in that phase?
Well, kind of going and piggybacking off of what you said about the bus and jumping off at different stops. I guess the very first thing is knowing where it is you want to go, the destination. I think another quote related to that is, if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? So kind of knowing what it is you want to achieve, and then just figuring out, okay, kind of reverse engineering that. Okay, this is where I want to get. So then what do I need to do? One step at a time. I know it's kind of cliche saying these things, but just breaking things down into small, doable pieces. So how do you drive across the country? 150 yards at a time, especially if you're driving at night, that's probably about as far as you can see with your headlights. So you want to just take the next step and just keep moving forward. And like you said, there will be times where things don't go as planned, which is okay. One of the things that I learned from some of the readings from Stoicism and the Stoics is like, rather than trying to look at things, what happened, and it wasn't what I wanted, so I'm not happy. Just take a look to see what happened and say, okay, this is what was supposed to happen, and what I wanted was what was supposed to happen, and then just deal with it and move forward. We tend to waste a lot of time, energy, and effort worrying about things that have already happened. But why didn't it go my way? Why did this? Going back to your example, why did this potential client take the meeting just to tell me that they decided to go with a different direction? What if? Just move on. Well, so what can you learn from that? Maybe, leading up to that meeting, you could have done a few things differently to make sure that, before hiring somebody else, they'd reach out to you and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? Because on our initial 2 points of contact, you gave me some, great advice, free advice, to say a lot of people hold back and think, okay, they haven't hired me, so I don't want to tell them anything. But if they feel like you genuinely care for them and you're kind of spitballing ideas with them while they're deciding whether or not to even set up a meeting with you, then if they do decide in that course to go a different direction, I feel a lot of times, they'll even, uh, even if it's just out of respect, tell you, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And then maybe you'll have that second chance to say, hey, you know what? Have you thought about A, B, C, and D? If you go in that direction, rather than taking that meeting with me to make a final decision whether or not I'm the right guy for you. So something along those lines has worked for me in the past, and I think might be a good thing to work into that process.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. One thing that I've realized, being in marketing like you for a long time, and we'll get into kind of your experience and how you started your agency, how you became a fractional CMO here in just a moment. But just being in marketing, I've been in marketing, let's say, since 2008, and in the last 13 years or so, I've seen a lot of the same faces. And so much of the work is not taking it personal and knowing that the people are doing the best they can with what they have. It's very rare that someone is actively trying to do something malicious to you. And if you can get yourself in a position to appreciate that they're doing the best they can with the information that they have and the tools that they have available to them, and sometimes it aligns to work together and sometimes it doesn't. I worked with someone, I was bringing in about $22,000 a month. It's a fractional CMO. I flew out to California, met with the CEO and like the executive director of this organization. And I pitched them on another year of working together. They were thrilled about it. I had a handshake. A couple days later, after I flew home, told my wife about it. I was pretty excited. The CEO called me and told me he had been fired. And as a result, I had been fired. And I never saw that coming. And it doesn't matter that I had the handshake deal. It doesn't even matter if there was a contract, right? Because, maybe they would have fought it. I was stuck having to figure it out for myself and had to be resilient in the face of that kind of uphill battle. And it sucked, right? It was hard. But I feel like I came out of it even stronger. And I'm curious, what example do you have in your life where there was a kind of unwinnable event and you lost despite your best efforts and you had to kind of just grind it out? What did that look like? I mean, I know that you had a child when you were really young.
Sure. Yeah. I think that kind of set me up, becoming a young father or a young parent really set me up to kind of be able to go against, this perceived impossibility, especially at the time when this happened. This is, back in the mid 90s. This is pre teen mom and all of that, where it wasn't, uh, okay, just another teenager with a kid. So kind of, especially in the culture that I grew up with, but it wasn't the norm. It definitely wasn't the norm. And all the statistics and all the anecdotal examples were against me. Oh my God, this is going to prevent you from doing anything in life. This is going to hold you back from getting an education. And the list went on and on. But just me being me, if I decide that something is the right thing to do, I'll just forge ahead, regardless of, people telling me otherwise. So that kind of set me up to, going into adulthood where, the resiliency was really built in. So from a business example, I started my company back in end of 99. So we were there and we initially started doing web development before getting into online marketing as well. So we were kind of there for the rise of the .com and then the fall. So that was kind of turbulent. And then in around 2007 or so, we started we started working with a company that was servicing the mortgage industry. And then, over time, that kind of naturally through referrals, lo and behold, we had about 95% of our monthly billings coming from the mortgage related industries. And then within a matter of 2 weeks, all those clients were gone. When the subprime market crashed and everything went to hell in a handbasket, in a matter of 2 weeks, literally 95% of our monthly billings went to zero. So kind of going back to the same example, it took us about 2 years to recover from that fully. But that really taught me that, okay, you need to diversify. And that's, kind of one of the reasons why initially in the intro, you read me doing so many different things. It's just because that kind of became ingrained in me. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket, literally, So it's, definitely an eye-opening event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you and I both on the other side of that, we know what it feels like when something's tough. Anyone listening to this who hasn't been through that type of thing, I mean, maybe a spouse dying, maybe a parent dying, maybe a child getting sick. I mean, there's all different kind of ways to experience this kind of rock bottom. Just to clarify on my side, I went from about 22,000 a month to about 2,000 a month, kind of overnight, and I definitely had built. I had overhead. I had a team member, right? So I was underwater, and I didn't have the money. It was just after a wedding. I was broke. It was tough. And then for you losing your business, taking 2 years, also being a parent before you turned 18, like those are the people that have gone through some shit, right? Those are the people that are dependable. You build like this sense of, you're right, resilience, I think is a really strong word for it. I love that, man. And I think the pressure around your culture too, the Armenian culture you mentioned is just a culture where it's kind of unheard of to have a child at such a young age. How did you have this dogged focus to grow despite what everyone else would say would be a losing hand dealt to you?
Well, I've always kind of, as far back as I can remember, I always think back. I think I was a very young child, and I realized one day that uh, I can't tell you exactly when it happened, but I kind of do have that internal feeling as to remember this happening, where I realized that nobody knows what's going on. So when people start telling you that, oh, this is how things are, I just realized, no, nobody really knows what's going on. And despite that, this person's older than me. You always taught to respect the elders. They know better because they're older. But I just realized, no, nobody actually knows what's going on. So if nobody knows what's going on, why would I put my faith in what somebody else is telling me? The way the world is, and I think, and these are obviously as a child, that's not this. I'm kind of looking back on this over the years and kind of, putting it into a little more, a better way of explaining it. As a child, and it wasn't as elaborate what I realized, but it was just a matter of, okay, if nobody knows what's going on, then I should just, rely on myself, my own intuition, and, but figure out what's going on. And if I can have an effect on the outcome of what's happening, why not do it? And one thing that I always tell my children is, it's great. Everyone will want to give you advice, especially, people who feel they're, in a position that, okay, I'm older, let me tell you how things really work. I said, listen to everybody. Whatever they're telling you, listen to them, have respect for them, but always ask yourself this question. If this person is giving me advice on a particular topic, are they in a situation or in a place that I would want to be in that given topic? So if somebody's telling you how to build a business, but they've never built a business, okay, that's great. Don't take it with a grain of salt. If somebody's telling you, oh, this is what you should do when it comes to your education, but their education hasn't gone beyond high school, then maybe, yeah, it's great. They're kind of regurgitating what they've heard elsewhere, what they were told. So it's kind of very basic when you start breaking it down. So that's the way I see it. And most things tend to be very basic if you if you break them down to the base.
Yeah, absolutely. I just pulled this up. Years ago, I was in strategic coach, and I had a coach named Chad Johnson, and I just adore this guy. I think he's just this incredible, like, father entrepreneur leader. And he shared this thing on Instagram just a couple nights ago about the 3 kinds of mentors. I think this is really important because there's this notion of an interjection, right? You can have an interjection in your life where someone else is kind of like put into your head this belief system that you might not even believe. And Chad says that there's 3 kinds of mentors. The first mentor is a role mentor, someone who's good at business or good at finance or good at marriage, right? They're good at one specific thing. You can have role mentors. They don't have to be your everything mentor. They can be just good at one thing. So if someone's saying to you, hey, this is a bad idea, and you look at them and say, are they my role mentor or not? Like, do I believe them? Do I want to be like them? I think you're spot on. The next level, he said, is a soul mentor, right? Someone who has a faith that you admire, which I think is really cool. And then the last one is a whole mentor. So a whole mentor, WHOLE, is a mentor that's someone who's 10, 20, 30 years older than you, that has the lifestyle that you want, that has so much kind of figured out that you want. And I think that differentiation, I think, is really important because I've always looked at someone and said, like, are they my whole mentor? When instead I should have said, are they my role mentor? I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You just gave me a framework for what I've been saying, and you really broke it down to the base. So perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of like where you came from and how you got to where you are, because you had an agency and then you ran that for a while and it was successful, and then you shut it down. And tell me about why you shut it down, and then tell me about now your movement to kind of accelerate kind of your success and impact and leverage by being a fractional CMO.
Sure. Like you mentioned, becoming a parent before my 18th birthday. My son was born 3 days before my 18th birthday. So, I had a really tough time. At the time I hadn't even graduated high school, it looked like it was going to be really tough for me to even do that. I actually had to go to adult school and gain the credits that I needed to then get my high school diploma. It then took me 12 years to get a 2-year degree at a community college. So at the age of 18, being a new father, not knowing what to do, I haven't even graduated high school. So what do I do to make money and take care of my new family? So what I did is I started doing computer repair out of my bedroom. This was back in '96, and then
solid business, right? In '96, that was a great business. No startup costs.
Nothing whatsoever. You just needed a couple of floppy drives to reinstall Windows for people that had, screwed up their computer completely. So I started doing that. And then over the next 2 years or so, it kind of morphed into, you're good with computers. What's this internet thing? And I picked up a book on HTML and kind of taught myself how to build websites. And by the time 1999 came around, I decided to start a business. Neolinks, doing web development or web design at the time. So started doing that along with the computer repair. And over time, it kind of, morphed into a full-on agency. And then several years back, through that, I started doing some business consulting, some startup consulting. So then got involved in a few startups, started a couple of companies myself. So kind of Neolink started taking a backseat. I didn't really shut down, but I wasn't really paying it any attention for new business. So it kind of took a backseat to everything I was doing. And a few years back, I made some of my exits from the different startups that I was involved with. And then the reason actually I have a real estate brokerage is because one of the startups dealt with the real estate industry. And I figured it was a lot faster for us to run tests on our own brokerage rather than relying on the different brokerages that were testing our systems, because real estate is notorious for being slow to adapt to technology. So that kind of led to this taking a backseat. And over the last 2 years or so, it's kind of rekindled that, helping businesses grow, especially newer businesses. So that's why the agency kind of got started up again and started doing that. And through that, I found you at the fractional CMO model and kind of really got into that. And it really struck a chord that, okay, I really get to advise people on a one-on-one basis, the decision makers, and that, see the fruits of the labor rather than just doing the consulting for them. Okay, this is what you should do. See you later. Thanks for the check. You get to stay on and really not only tell them what needs to get done, but either through my own agency or, their internal staff, or through a third party agency that they might hire or I might hire for them, kind of really be the guiding, the captain of the ship, when it comes to their marketing and their strategy. So that's what really got me to where I am today.
Got it. And it seems like for a while you've been doing strategy level stuff, and then you kind of got pulled into the marketing tactics. Are you one of those kind of people that just like loves the strategy side?
Yes. Like I said, when it took me 12 years to get my 2-year degree, I then went fairly quickly, went and got a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. And then shortly after that, went and got my MBA. So even my training was in a lot of strategy and, especially startup strategy and marketing strategy. That's what my focus was on at the undergrad and graduate level. So I kind of, I think I put the horse before the cart, and in this case it worked, or the cart before the horse. In this case, it seems to have worked out where I went and got the real world experience before going and get the book smarts, so to speak. The short answer is yes. I love the strategy aspect because I think I'm good at it.
Yeah,
That might sound like something, but yeah. So it's just I'm able to. I think just because it might be my upbringing and all the difficulties I had to deal with, or it might be that I played Tetris a lot as a kid. But I'm just really good at solving problems. A lot of times I'll see solutions to problems that people haven't even seen the problem yet. And it just seems to have worked out so far.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. And we've got this mantra here at the CMOX Accelerator. And in general, we talk about solving bigger problems. Tell me what kind of problems you used to solve versus what you solve now as a fractional CMO. Was it like just website building? Were you like troubleshooting plugins on WordPress?
Yeah, well, before we were kind of redoing the mess that somebody else had created when it came to websites, or a lot of times with websites, especially back in the day, somebody would spend 2 years finally getting their website to where they wanted to be, and then about 2 months after launch, they realized that okay, my website is now outdated. So what can we do? So those were mainly the types of problems we were solving, and the issue with that is when somebody comes to you after having a bad experience, and this holds true with the CMO aspect as well. When somebody comes to you with a bad experience, they tend to kind of hold you responsible for all the bad experiences they've had with their previous companies or people or agencies that they've worked with. So that's been one of the major things. But just having a clear plan of attack. And that's one thing that the CMOX has really helped out with. The accelerator program is kind of giving you that blueprint where you can say, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the first 30 days. This is how we're going to approach, this aspect of your business that needs to be addressed. And to me, having a blueprint that I can customize and follow and share, because a lot of times we go into this knowing what we're going to do. But especially, like I mentioned before, if the person you're working with has had a bad experience and it's left a bad taste in their mouth from their previous interactions with a consultant or an agency, they really want to know, okay, so how are you different? So when you're able to articulate to them from the get-go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what the next 30 days look like. This is what the next 90 days look like. This is what we're going to do over the course of the next 12 months. I mean, it's just a game changer. And then, on a regular basis, you keep them updated and, most people are happy.
Yeah, absolutely. The people who can be made happy are happy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And certainly not working with the people who you can't please is a good rule. Yeah, I love that though. I like this idea that you're kind of like elevating what you're doing, but by doing that, you also take on more responsibility. So you're taking on the responsibility of kind of the debt that marketing has left in an organization, which could be significant. Um, the joke that I have is like, if I wanted to reinvent myself as a scammer in the marketing space, I could sell anything. I could sell PR. I could sell SEO. It'd be kind of hard to sell PPC. Um, though I definitely do see some big jokers charging enormous fees to manage a very small budget, right? When they're charging $10,000, $15,000 a month to manage a $2,000 or $3,000 a month budget. I think those guys are clowns. Um, so so it's easy to be scammy. It's easy to change a couple title tags and H1 tags, and then submit to a couple directories, and attempt to charge thousands of dollars a month for quote unquote SEO services. So it makes sense that companies are burnt from bad marketers. So now you have to come in, Armen, and you have to take responsibility for everything that's happened in the past, and then work to resolve it in the future. It seems heavy. Do you find that do you have any tricks for that?
Uh, I wouldn't say so much a trick, but just knowing that that's what the person that you're sitting across the table with is thinking. I think really puts you in a position where you can address that before they even verbalize it, or maybe they don't even realize that they're kind of that baggage that they're carrying with them. They're projecting it on you. So if you can get ahead of it, and like I said, the kind of showing them the roadmap that you're going to be using and what you're going to be doing, I think really helps put their mind at ease. It definitely lowers their guard, because a lot of times, let's just call it what it is. They're jaded. They come from, okay, the previous guy screwed me, the guy before that screwed me. So how is this guy trying to screw me? It seems to be the attitude, even if they don't verbalize it. So if you could just really show them that, hey, I'm here to help, and this is how I'm going to help, rather than give me X number of dollars per month, throw it in this black box and I'll do some magic, something will come out the other end. Take my word for it. Give me 6 months, and then you'll see if it doesn't. You can cancel it. And this guy's thinking, okay, X number of dollars times 6. This guy's asking me to give him this much money and wait 6 months to see what happens. I don't think so. So it's just getting ahead of it and kind of really genuinely showing them that, hey, this is, I care. A, I care, and B, this is what I do, and C, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to hold myself accountable by showing you, the results on ongoing basis. So that really helps, I think, lower the guard. And and like you said, there are some people that just aren't going to be happy. If you can't please them, the sooner you can figure that out and just part ways amicably, the better off everybody is. Because my mantra is, I always tell everybody I work with, I don't want to be a headache for you, and I will not allow you to be a headache for me. That's the bottom line. So I don't want to have to lose any sleep over, a check per month, no matter how big that check is. I like, I get only a few hours of sleep a night, but I like those few hours to be nice and comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, absolutely. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
25 and 17.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I think that this is like clarifying for me. So you went from the agency model and you love the strategy side. So you wanted to move more into strategy and sell your services for that. You kind of talked about the blueprint, and we kind of have a blueprint inside the CMO Accelerator. But what I think is unique too is like no one solution fits every business. You work with medical clinics and healthcare service companies, and those companies can be very different just in there. I mean, even in the medical clinics, it can be very different. Are you helping them with acquisition marketing, new client acquisition? That's very different than home services company, although they can be kind of similar, and you might have some overlap in campaigns. So it really requires you, Armen, to be, sharp, intelligent. I mean, you're surrounded by books, and they're not small books. You're surrounded by like what looks like thick books. So you're a reader. You learn. You care about the stuff. Do you find it fun to be able to kind of flex your brain and kind of wrap it around a company and kind of walk around what they're trying to do and see it from different angles in an attempt to help them grow?
Yes, I think personally, and this is by no means, I like the way you put it, flexing your brain, but I think not necessarily ego trip, but being able to talk to, the CEO or the medical director or whoever might be the decision maker, and in real time, right in front of their eyes, being able to identify opportunities that they hadn't even noticed, and also kind of give them tidbits as to how those opportunities could be exploited. I mean, that's a game changer. Their eyes light up and they say, "Oh my God, if this guy's showing us things that we hadn't even realized and how we could, exploit those and make, grow our revenue, then this is a no-brainer. He could definitely help us with the things that we are asking him to help." Like you said, there's definitely no cookie cutter solution. Yeah, we have a blueprint, but that blueprint kind of the very first thing is to figure out what it is they're trying to do. Do an asset inventory where they are right now, and then how we can use the tools that we have at our disposal to get them to where they need to be. We're not trying to change their model to fit our solution. We're trying to construct a solution, to fit what it is in their best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that sounds great, man. Okay, so I love what you said about you can't please everybody. I mean, I think a big takeaway here is you can't please everybody. And you could also create an environment where you're winning, right? I mean, it's certainly easy to take any lead that comes at you and work your ass off to close it, only to service them and realize that they're terrible and then keep them because you're so busy servicing the bad leads or the bad customers that you don't have the time and the capacity to kind of think how to get out. And you're just begging and waiting for the day that a great lead comes across your desk, but you're not being proactive to get it. And what I really like about what you're saying here is just like, you just like have it seems like you say no to anyone who's a potential headache. And that keeps you in a place of like, clarity and efficacy. And it seems like fun too. Do you agree?
Yes, it wasn't always this way. There's some experience that kind of shifted course. I mean, there have been times over the course of the 20 some odd years I've been in business where the bills are due. Kids need what they need. And the first client that comes in that has any money, you're like, okay, yes, I'll do whatever it takes to get to sign this client up. But then you realize that $2,000, $3,000 a month that they're paying you is costing you, 3, 4 times that just what you're doing to service them. And not to mention the opportunity cost, like you said, when all these other opportunities, I don't have the opportunity to, or I don't have the chance to go after those opportunities and get those clients that are actually gonna, add to the bottom line. So it's one thing where, the top line is getting filled with money coming in from a client that's not a right fit, but that at the end of the day, it's actually costing you money to service those clients. So yeah, it's definitely something that I've learned over the course of my business career to turn people away who aren't the right fit.
I love it. I heard from someone once, he calls it replacement therapy, right? You just replace the bad clients with the better clients, and you just like slowly move your way up to this really wonderful place where you love everybody that you work with. You love the impact that you make. With some of those opportunities, there's asymmetric upside, and you can continue to make more and more with them. With other clients, you like them a lot. You like working with them, and there's no room for growth, and that's okay, right? Those two things can exist. But what has to happen is Monday morning, when you get on your computer and you start working, or Monday afternoon, if you do it, or if you take Mondays off on Tuesday, whatever your lifestyle is. But when you start working for the week, if you're not starting work and kind of loving the people that you talk to, what are you doing? Right? Life's too short to work with a bunch of people you don't like and on a mission that you don't care for, or selling a product or service that you don't believe in. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're based just northeast of LA in Glendale, and you went from you're like a serial entrepreneur, agency owner. You're adding fractional CMO services. You've got your fractional CMO services for medical clinics and healthcare service companies. I'm just curious, why medical services? Why healthcare service companies? Why are you in the medical space or the health space?
Well, just kind of almost happened by accident. Clients started reaching out to me, chiropractic, laser hair removal, eye surgeons, and it kind of just so happened. And when I started working with them, I realized that most of these doctors genuinely care about improving people's lives. And if I'm helping improve somebody's life and business, who's then in turn helping improve somebody else's life and business, it's kind of that exponential growth of just doing good things out there, putting it out there. So by all means, we do focus on that. That's definitely not the only segment or niche that we serve, but that definitely kind of stuck because you can see almost in real time the benefit just trickling down. of that happiness. Being, if somebody's getting an eye surgery that, are now able to see, whereas before they had difficulty seeing. I mean, that's literally life changer. And if I could put this doctor in a position where he can do that more often for more people, then why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, this kind of goes back to the unfair opportunity that the fractional CMO has. You're finding these great people. I mean, you love people that help folks in health. I mean, they're like literally saving lives or reducing suffering. I mean, they're doing important work. Even something as small as getting your teeth cleaned is like, monumental to your health. It's systemic health, right? Most disease, well, a lot of disease can start through the mouth. So being a fractional CMO, it means that you get to help a dentist and then another dentist, or a DSO, a dental service organization, or dental partnership organization, dental support organization. And then you can move on. You can work with medical clinics, weight loss clinics. I mean, there's a bunch of these places that like do great, important, life-changing work. And tell me, what other role exists where you can have that kind of leverage? I mean, maybe the banker, right? Maybe the person who gives loans to these businesses, maybe, but like that can actually create change. That can actually change the math and take something great. We see these inventors who like come up with these great ideas and they end up in the landfill. They get a patent on it. They don't know what to do with it. Ends up in the landfill, though it could change lives. What they're missing is someone like you, Armen. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a spectacular place to be. All right, so if anyone wants to check you out and connect with you, first of all, I think you have the most badass photos on your website. Where would they find you? What's your website?
The FCMO.com. So that's short for Fractional CMO. So THEFCMO.com. They can reach out there, or they can just type in my last name on any of the social media platforms and I'll pop up. I have the luxury of having a fairly unique last name. So chances are they're going to get me if they type my last name into any of the social media platforms.
Yeah, and that's Armen Mardirousi, and the last name is spelled Mardirousi. Armen Mardirousi. Sure. Armen, it's been great having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your experience and talking about kind of like how you've moved from just agency owner to now fractional CMO. Big takeaway for me is just like this reminder of like the slog that it can be to do anything great, to get anywhere. When you think about climbing any mountain, everyone thinks about the start and they think about the finish, but they don't think about the middle where it's a grind. And you bringing up the term resilience, I think is so strong. With your experience in meditation and in yoga and in teaching yoga, I think you bring a really great kind of calm energy to that resilience. It also seems like you're really well boundaried. You want to work with great companies and you're willing to not take a big paycheck from a not great company. That could either be something that you don't align with or that pressure you to, work outside of the hours that you want to work or interrupt you while you're sleeping or family time or whatever. So I love that. I mean, that's the lifestyle that you get to choose. I'm kind of walking away from this kind of being reminded of the power of saying no and of, just like the inevitable roadblocks that we're going to hit as marketers becoming fractional CMOs. Resilience, I think, is key. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you, Casey, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, great. So if you've listened to this and you learned something, if you laughed, tell someone about the podcast, please. FractionalCMOshow.com. They can go there and they can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, on Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts, you can get it. You can say, hey, Alexa, play the Fractional CMO Show, and she'll do exactly what you ask. That's it. Thank you all for joining me for the Fractional CMO Show. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for today's show. For more information and episodes, visit our site at fractionalcmoshow.com. Go ahead and punch that like and subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. It means a lot, at least to my mom.